as many of you know, I hope, on much of the 2010 budget, there is agreement and the bills are being prepared so that when it comes time to call a special session, we won't have to wait a couple of days for the bills to be ready. However, there continue to be two significant issues, issues that are so significant and material that we can't have a budget until we resolve them. One of those is how to close out fiscal year 2009. That is the fiscal year in which we are right now, that ends on Tuesday. We have a deficit in fiscal year 2009 that is driven primarily by Medicaid. The number of people on Medicaid, as unemployment has gone up in the last several months, the number of people on Medicaid has gone up as more people become eligible. Medicaid spending has increased faster than we anticipated even 6 weeks ago. So Medicaid's deficit is what is causing us to have a deficit to close FY09. We have been through a number of potential solutions, some of which were agreeable to everybody but ended up not working. On our teleconference this week, we talked about at one point we thought we could move some education money from 2009 forward to education in 2011 and take some of my discretionary money that I'd been spending on education in 2011, bring it back to 2009. At the end of the day, it turned out the education money from 2009 wasn't actually there. It had already been spent. But we continue, and we believe we have two solutions that cover the deficit, but they're being worked through to make sure that we can actually do them, to make sure that they work in the way that we think. But obviously we can't adopt a budget for 2010 until we've balanced our budget for 2009. And I particularly want to emphasize to you that it is Medicaid that is the issue in 2009, as well as the elephant in the room for 2010. The law of Mississippi, constitutionally and by statute, is we can't have a budget out of balance. We don't have deficit spending. To prevent a deficit for the whole budget, we have to prevent a deficit for Medicaid. And that's why the legislature more than 20 years ago put this law into effect, and I'm going to abide by this law. I'm going to abide by this law. This is what the law says I must do, and I also realize what the ramifications are if I don't. If we give Medicaid a blank check, then we are exposing the taxpayers to a ticking time bomb of taxes to pay off huge deficits. But this is a very serious issue. This is not some little minor budget issue. It's not a political issue. It's not an issue about who's in charge. It's an issue about protecting the taxpayers and obeying the Constitution and the laws. I am pleased with the state of those negotiations right now. However, they are not concluded by any stretch of the imagination. And I would remind you that if Medicaid, which is almost 15% of the state budget, if Medicaid's budget isn't balanced, that means we don't have a balanced budget. That we can't have an agreement until we've got an agreement on Medicaid, even though Senator Nunley, I think, would tell you everything else is put to bed except if Medicaid turns out to have a different set of figures than we are assuming. Then you got to go back and deal with something else to get Medicaid balance. As Lieutenant Governor said a while ago, it's like a train. When one car stops, every car stops. And you have to get it where all of it works together. I'm optimistic about it, but I can't say to you this is when it's going to happen. I will tell you there are significant issues if we don't get a budget by July 1. We can continue, we can go forward. However, there's some departments and agencies that would incur very major problems like MDOT, if in fact we don't get through by the midnight on June the 30th.